All right, let's get right into it. The brand new OWASP Top 10 for 2025 is here. And look, if you think this is just another minor update, you're going to want to stick around, because this isn't just a refresh. We're talking about a huge, fundamental shift in how we need to think about app security.
And honestly, this quote from HackerVault just hits the nail on the head. It's not just another list, right? It's a total shift in mindset. Think of it less like a ranking and more like a compass, pointing exactly where security is going. And it means we all have to start thinking differently. So, what is this big mindset shift? Well, here's the core of it. For years, we've been playing whack-a-mole, right? Patching bugs as they appear. Basically treating the symptoms. OWASP is now telling us to stop. Instead, we need to be more like detectives or maybe doctors and figure out the real problem, the deep-down architectural flaws, the root causes that let these bugs happen in the first place.
And this analogy just makes it crystal clear. You see, sensitive data exposure, that's the symptom, the sore arm. It hurts, it's obvious. But what's the real issue? It's the cryptographic failure. That's the broken bone underneath it all. And what the 2025 list is telling us is, hey, stop just putting ice on the sore arm and actually fix the broken bone. It's about a real long-term fix, not just a temporary patch.
And this isn't just some new philosophy they came up with. No, this is backed by a massive amount of data. Get this, the team looked at data from over 2.8 million, that's million with an M, applications, and they sifted through almost 700 unique CWEs, common weakness enumerations. So when we say this list is data-driven, we mean it. This is probably the most comprehensive look at the security landscape we've ever gotten.
So, what did all that data actually show? Well, let's jump into the first huge new risk area. We're talking about the software supply chain, and this is a big one. Because your attack surface, it's not just your code anymore. Nope, it's everything. It's the whole ecosystem, all the tools, the libraries, the pipelines, everything you use to get your software out the door.
And this really shows you how big that change is. Remember the old category? It was vulnerable and outdated components. Pretty straightforward. But the new one, AO3, software supply chain failures, wow, that is so much bigger. It's this recognition that a threat isn't just some outdated library you forgot to update. It could be anything, a compromised build tool, a malicious package hiding in a registry. The whole chain is now a target.
I mean, just look at how this can play out. An attacker could sneak a poison dependency into NPM or PyPy. Or they could hit your build server. Maybe they tamper with your CI/CD pipeline. Or they could hide a nasty little backdoor in a container image you pull down. Any one of those things, just one weak link, can infect the entire process from that point on. Your toolchain isn't just a tool anymore, it's a primary battlefield.
Okay, let's move on to the second huge update. This is a brand new category for 2025, and honestly, this one's fascinating. It really shows a new level of maturity in how we think about security. It's all about what happens when things just, go wrong, because they always do, right?
And this quote from one of the OWASP team members really gets to the heart of it. The advice can't just be, your code is bad, make it better. I mean, how useless is that? It doesn't help anyone. The whole point here was to give people something they can actually look for, something they can prevent, something they can fix, real, actionable guidance.
And so here it is, A10, mishandling of exceptional conditions. This is all about those sneaky, subtle, but absolutely critical flaws in how your app behaves when it's under stress or when it gets some weird, unexpected input. We all know how to code for the sunny day scenario when everything works perfectly. This is about what happens when it starts to rain.
So what does that actually look like? Well, here are some perfect examples. Are your error messages accidentally spitting out sensitive info? What happens if a function is supposed to get a parameter and gets nothing? Does your whole app just crash because of a null pointer? And here's the big one. If a security check fails for some reason, does your system lock down or does it fail open and just let people in? These are exactly the kinds of tricky edge cases A10 is making us all think about.
Now, with all this talk about brand new risks, it's pretty easy to forget about the old school threats. But the classics are classics for a reason, right? So let's take a step back and remember that the absolute fundamentals of AppSec are just as critical as they've ever been, maybe even more so.
And yep, if you look at the very top of the list, it's no surprise at all. Broken access control is still the undisputed king of vulnerabilities, still sitting right there at number 1. It is still the most common reason for major breaches. And right behind it, you've got security misconfiguration and our new friend, software supply chain failures. Those top 3 right there, they tell you pretty much everything you need to know about risk today.
But what is broken access control, really? Well, this example from a Reddit discussion just explains it perfectly. Imagine your website doesn't show a link to the Edit User page for regular users. Seems secure, right? But what if someone can just guess the URL and type user/1/edit directly into their browser? If your server doesn't double-check their permissions on the back end, they're in. That's the key takeaway here. Hiding a link is not the same as blocking access, not even close.
Okay, so we've talked about the big mindset shift, we've gone over the key changes, now for the most important part. What do you do with all this information? Let's take what we've learned and turn it into an actual, concrete action plan.
Think of this as your starting checklist, right now. For access control, it's simple. Always verify permissions on the server side, not just in the browser. For your supply chain, you absolutely need an SBO, a software bill of materials, and you've got to start signing your builds. When it comes to configuration, lock everything down by default and automate your checks. For that new exceptions category, you need to go out of your way to test what happens when things break. And finally, logging. You can't stop an attack you can't see, so get your logging and alerting in order.
So in the end, the OWASP Top 10 2025 is really a map of the modern security battlefield. The threats aren't just simple bugs anymore. They're systemic. They're woven into your architecture, your supply chain, and even how you handle errors. And that leaves all of us with one really critical question. The attackers? They are already out there, hunting for these flaws. The only question is, will you find them first?